a lot of young and up-and-coming teams go around the league.
I can't wait. I am excited, but I do want to tell you one thing, E, and you're younger than me, but I'll still get home. I just want the Warriors to perfect the way that the Warriors play and that they play, that beautiful motion. I'm not saying don't go up and down. That's dumb. What I'm saying is they don't have to mimic or be like everything that you're watching in the playoffs right now. E, does that make any sense?
Well, let's talk to Sam Amick about that. Senior NBA writer from The Athletic, kind enough to join us. Sam, I saw you were covering Minnesota, Denver. We just played your cut and your interaction with Anthony Edwards a couple of minutes ago before the break. It looks like you're having, I don't know, your hands full with two teams that appear to be the cream of the crop in the Western Conference. How are you?
I'm good, guys. Appreciate you having me. Yeah, I did. I jumped on the first two games of the series. Admittedly, I snuck home, so I'm not there for 3 and 4. And I'd be lying if I didn't admit that it was partly because we tend to track very competitive series, and right now this one looks fairly one-sided. But yeah, and a pretty impressive couple games for Minnesota.
Well, obviously the defending champs got their backs up against the wall, but it's something we were kind of tossing around earlier, Sam, is this idea of if you're Golden State and you're trying to figure out, kind of how you measure up in the Western Conference, do you feel like they are looking at this series as the series to gauge where they should go, where they're at, or do you think that it's going to be determined by the rest of the playoffs? Because it appears to me that Minnesota and Denver are the two teams that everyone is kind of really hot on. They are the cream of the crop right now.
It's funny. I agree with that in a vacuum, but I would probably quickly add in, we are just overlooking Oklahoma City like crazy. They've won 5 in a row. The Timberwolves have won 6 in a row, of course. But, OKC and the dominance with which they took care of Dallas in game 1, I think has got to be, something you pay attention to. And if you're the Warriors, you just, it's all of it, right? Like all 4 of these remaining teams are problems for a team like the Warriors. And the irony is that Denver all of a sudden might be 4th on that list of the remaining 4 in the West. And, the theme among, I would say, 3 of the 4 teams, taking the Nuggets out at the moment, is that the physicality, the versatility on the defensive end, the size, the length, that's what is getting it done in these playoffs. And that's something that the Warriors certainly don't have enough of these days.
Yeah, Sam, good to talk to you, man. I fought the good – yes, sir. I fought the good fight all year long, but I was telling Evan and the listeners, that play-in game, that was alarming to me. I still watch it at times like, oh, my God. That was the first sign to where I said, oh, boy, I was wrong. But I'm telling Evan, Steph Curry is not the problem in the sense that I believe he needs more help. So if the team went the direction of maybe getting him a bona fide number 2 guy, would that make sense to you? Or are you thinking, okay, Steph might be on the decline to the point to where you got to get somebody better than him? Help it make sense for me, Sam.
No, I don't think we're to that latter scenario, Guru, at all. It's funny, I actually just got off the phone with a colleague of mine. You guys probably know the name. Dan Wicke covers the Lakers for the LA Times.
Yeah.
And we were chatting about LeBron and the idea, and I'm not talking out of school here, but that LeBron, as great as he is, that on the defensive side of the ball, you got to remember that he's 39 years old. And so Steph is a few years behind LeBron, and he is still elite. He's still incredible, but you are going to have to, accept some realities that come with having a guy who is doing, unprecedented things at this late stage, but still not, as good as he was before, especially the defensive side. So to me, you can still build around Steph, but you got to be careful, going star chasing for another number 2 and having that be your only focal point, because I think these playoffs are showing the value of depth. They're showing the value. I mean, look at the Timberwolves, for example. It's not a real complicated analysis of what they're doing to Denver. The Nuggets' 2 best players are Jokic and Murray, and they have the Wolves have guys like Rudy Gobert, Naz Reid, Karl Anthony Towns, and Kyle Anderson, all 6'10" and above, who they can throw at Joker, and they're slowing him down. With Murray, you're throwing Jaden McDaniels, Nickeil Alexander-Walker, and a bunch of wings that have so much length at Jamal. And you're just absolutely, kind of just vetoing everything the Nuggets do. And so the point would be that the depth matters a lot. It's, look at the Lakers have themselves a 1-2 punch. They've got a number two, the likes of which that the Warriors would dream of, an Anthony Davis or whoever you want to give it to, if LeBron's the number two. But, they're home just like Golden State. So I don't know that chasing the star is the way to go.
Sam Amick with us here on 95.7 The Game, and he is a senior NBA writer for The Athletic. Sam, you mentioned the depth and how that has sort of stood out along with the youth and athleticism and versatility of not just Minnesota and Denver, but also OKC. In regards to Golden State, does that mean that star chasing for you is off the table? Because even though the Warriors' crop of young players, Kuminga, Podziemski, Trace Jackson-Davis, can even throw Moody in there, might be able to fetch you something, do you think that I don't know if it's a core four, but a young four is not worth giving up on at this point, even if it means another year of waiting and seeing as Steph Curry ages?
It's tough because, it's almost, Evan, like, we got to be able to talk about who that player you're getting back is. So I just think the list should be relatively short. Now, one guy who, I kind of feel like could be on the bubble, so to speak, like let's say, and this is hypothetical, but he's in the news these days, that there was a scenario where they could get Paul George. Like Paul's still an elite all-star level player, and I think he's got, a fair amount of gas left in the tank. Like you would certainly have to look at something like that. An even greater example that is not going to happen that's been talked about forever is obviously Giannis. Joe Lacob is widely known to have kind of dreams of pairing Giannis and Steph. I don't see that happening, but that, I'd be giving up the farm to get Giannis, to be clear. So it's just a matter of who it is. And, I'll bring up the Lakers example again. There's a lot of chatter about them going after Trae Young this summer, right? And like, to me, Trae represents the type of star that is going to send you down the wrong road. I don't think that he would elevate the group to the degree that would justify losing. For them, it's guys like Austin Reeves, right? And some of their young guys. That's what you have to look at, is making sure it's worth it if you're going to give up those young players.
Sam, I got so many questions I want to ask him, Evan. It's Jalen Brunson, but I want to stop in Boston real quick. One, whose team is it? And there's just something about watching them play, and I know Porzingis wasn't out there, where I'm worried for him, Sam. Does that make any sense? I'm worried about Boston. I can't put my finger on it, but some nights I'm like, Jaylen Brown is better than Tatum, and then some nights I'm like, Tatum is better than Brown. Whose team is it, and what are you seeing from them?
I mean, they're still getting the job done. They've been fairly dominant. And that's the kind of the embarrassment of riches they have on the roster just hides a lot of the issues that you're highlighting, Guru, because it is a little bit unorthodox or rare to have a team that good where you're still wondering on some nights who the best guy is. But the flip side of that is, you've got a guy like Drew Holiday who might be a fourth option.
Wow.
Who's still an incredible player. Even the Horford thing, it's funny. I'm sitting here, I had an interview with Mike Conley that I'm going to put out tomorrow, and I was trying to figure out who the oldest starter was left in the playoffs, and it's Al Horford in his fill-in duty for Porzingis. But even at 37 years old, Horford's still getting it done.
Right.
They just have an incredible roster. I don't see the Cavs certainly beating them. And, I'm going to grab my popcorn for a likely Knicks-Celtics series, but if I had to handicap it, I think they get through the next two.
Sam Amick with us here on 95.7 The Game, senior NBA writer for The Athletic. To kind of stay there in a league-wide conversation, we were discussing this earlier, Sam, about how there's been 5 different champions the last 5 years in the NBA. It's the first time it's happened since 75 to 79. And it speaks to the amount of parity that's in the association right now. Do you feel like that's something that is good for the game, or do you feel like there might be less attention on the league just because people are accustomed to either 1, 2, or 3 teams consistently being the spotlight?
It's a question that gets asked a lot. I don't know the numbers like the back of my hand from a rating standpoint. You do consistently hear in the cynical media circles that the league, has a way of kind of glossing over their ratings numbers and kind of, hiding the fact that the numbers are down from past years. But, they continue to give a thumbs up for the most part on the audience. But, as you guys know as well as anyone, because we all kind of lived it together, like following the Warriors dynasty and watching the Warriors and the Cavs go at it in the finals for so many years in a row, that was appointment viewing and the kind of stuff that you knew was going to be there every June. And it felt like a soap opera that you just had to tune in for. That's very different than, right now it looks like Denver's not capable of defending. So we're probably headed towards another champion in another market, but the good side of that obviously is that during the times of dynasties, the criticism is that 80 or 90% of the league is irrelevant, that there's all these fan bases that don't really get up in the morning truly thinking they have a shot. And that's different now. I mean, Oklahoma City just went from rebuilding to, they could win the whole thing. And that was in pretty short order coming from a small market. So, I think that's the part that the league likes.
Sam, I don't want to sound soft, but I told Evan last night I got a problem with the MVP result. And the reason being is I don't want to sound like participation trophy guy, but I thought it was about, growing the league in regard to showing off our young stars. And Jokic is incredible, 26, 12, and 9, but he wasn't the number one seed, his team. That went to SGA, who was averaging 36 and 6, and Jokic has won it twice. And I guess, Sam, I was just thinking this might be a time. Say it again.
I said 3 times, Guru.
Yeah, no, right. Yeah. So I'm saying, did we really need to see it 3 times as opposed to giving it to SGA one time when his team was the first seed and he averaged 30 points, Sam?
I hear you. I do. I really do. I voted for Joker, full disclosure, and I'm going to lose points with you, Guru, because I actually had Luka second. My thing with SGA, and it's there's a theme happening. It makes voting kind of hard, I'll be honest. First of all, they tied, like the Thunder had a tiebreaker. So as far as like winning the West, I get it. But like you're literally talking about the same exact records between Denver and OKC. And my thing with SGA is that, and Tatum faces the same problem, is that there are so many good, the word that gets thrown around is heliocentric players, like guys like that are the absolute, epicenter of their team's offense. And Joker's playmaking is, if you're just putting a value on it and quantifying things, it's literally, roughly 2x what SGA is bringing to the table. And his scoring is about 8% below. And that's where it gets hard because, SGA had a great year. He's incredible. But that team, like the Celtics, is deep, is complicated, is nuanced. And you can win on nights if you don't have one of those guys. You just can. And you take Joker off the Nuggets, and they might not make the playoffs. That's just a fact, I think. So, but, we'll see. The conversation is going to shift around Joker again because it's another one of those MVP years where the guy raising the trophy is about to, get sent home in the playoffs, which is always a tough look. So, I hear what you're saying, and the young kids are coming, man. SGA and Edwards and these guys, they're going to be the faces of the league pretty soon.
Oh, Sam, one more for you. Talking about a lot of young players, but the Warriors have a 34-year-old to make a choice about in Klay Thompson. What does your gut tell you happens there? Do you feel like he comes back? Do you think he walks? Do you think it's mutually beneficial? What do you think happens this summer with Klay Thompson?
I'm curious. I don't have a great feel for it right now other than where we left it at the end of the season, which is, we know how much Klay loves being a part of the Bay. I'll even say that, before the Warriors. I think I wrote about it a few months ago. He's had issues with ownership at times this season, not necessarily feeling respected all the way through this process. And those types of things have to get ironed out relationship-wise, and I think they can. So the question becomes, does he have it in him to try something new, mainly like an Orlando situation? And there's other guys involved, Paul George, Malik Monk. There's only so many teams with a bunch of cap room, but the Magic have a bunch. The Magic have interest. So what does he think and feel about his life if you're going to, take that boat that you have in the Bay and maybe now you can only use it on, Disney World lakes and lagoons out there by the Magic. I think at 34 years old, quality of life matters. And I think Klay has obviously got a lot to think about.
Well, we appreciate your insight.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you so much, Sam, for joining us. Enjoy the rest of the playoffs. We look forward to it.
Thanks, guys. Be good.
National NBA reporter, or writer. Sam Amick joining us here on 95.7 The Game. I think a lot there, Goo.
Yeah, I mean, he's great, and I can't wait for the piece to come out tomorrow. And the oldest player left, that's amazing.
Al Horford.
Tito
Yeah.
is, I follow his wife, is pretty good, Anna Horford. But, Evan, I guess I'm irritated a little more about the MVP.
We didn't talk about that. How come? Because I didn't text you this in the Vine yesterday, but I'm with Sam. I would have had Luka second.
But I guess it's,
like SGA
if we're
going to
do what team would flame out without their best player, then Jokic is going to win it every year. I thought the number one seed, and I know he was right, it came down to the end, but the fact that this would have been, instead of a guy winning it for his third time, this would have been a young man's first time, averaging 30 points and his team the number one seed. I just felt like that would have been better for the league. And I love Jokic, then, giving it to a guy for his third time when his team wasn't even the number one seed. But if you're going to hit me with kind of ignore the 82, the regular season, and if you take Evan off of 95.7 The Game, then they're not a playoff team. I think all the times just Nash, Rob, Kobe, and Jordan could have got it every year. If we're going to do that, then...
Well, Jordan did get it quite a few times, but I'll even leave seeding out of it. And not just about record. I think Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, if you look at his numbers, he's had pretty much the same season as he did last year. He just played more games. I mean, he averaged slightly more points last year. I think he shot it a little bit better from the floor in three this year.
But he is their best player. He is of a young team.
But the difference between OKC last year and this year to me was the rest of the team got better. He also got Chet Holmgren, who he didn't have last year. I think SGA came in fifth last year in MVP. Yeah. So he's still an elite, one of the best players in the association. I just don't think he's the best.
Wow. And that's 30 points a game, 6 rebounds, 6 assists. I just thought, if we go the old traditional method, I thought that was, being the face of a young team, and you get the number one seed and you go from fifth. I guess, Evan, where I'm at is, I would have did it on a curve. Like, I don't want to give it to a guy, even if let's just say it was Kareem, for a guy to get it the third time and a young man averaged 36 and 6, and this team, you know what? We're going to give him his first one. Because at this point, when's he going to ever win it then?
But the thing is, too, if you take any of the top 3 players off their teams, I don't know if they're a playoff. You take Luka off the Mavericks, I don't know if they make the playoffs. If you take Jokic off Denver, maybe they have enough of a cushion to make the play-in, but I don't think they make the playoffs.
What about SGA off OKC? I could make the argument that...
But he came in second. So he's the second best player in the league. I don't think that's a slight. But you do.
Yeah, I do. I can't... The way you just worded it, there's praise in being the second best player in the league.
I think so.
I guess, Evan, I thought his portfolio in regard to who had the better overall season when you include, so I thought, team success, even though we won it by a hair, that this team got the number one seed, I thought this was a time to reward a young man that basically, and I know you're saying that Gooey didn't come out of nowhere. He was fifth last year. I just thought it was overkill with giving it to Jokic for his third, even if Jokic's name was Tom Thumb, then giving it to a guy that got his team to the number one seed and kind of brought home, we're on our way and we arrived. How about cap it off with the MVP season, even if it could have went to 3 other guys?
Well, in a weird way, to me, the fact that we're talking about this or that people are discussing who got snubbed and that Jokic didn't deserve it affirms Jokic's place among greats, because what do we talk about all the time with great players? We nitpick how great they are. I mean, we talk about, was Curry the MVP in 15 over Harden? Should he have been 15 in 2021 when he came in third? All of those things, to me, contribute to the conversation about the group that Jokic is in. The thing that I would be concerned about with Jokic is he Giannis Antetokounmpo? And I was talking to a member of the media yesterday about this very conversation, and I think it speaks to the Warriors and a larger point about the league, that there's this inflection point that we're beginning to see of which direction this thing is going to go. Amick brought up the fact that we're probably, if Denver gets bounced, going to have a 6th straight year with a different champion. That means that it might mean to some that it's more competitive than it's ever been. It also tells me, Goo, that it's open season, that it's not as dominant. It's not as one-sided as we've made it out to be. The league awards is something else. You win it 3 out of 4 years. You're the best player in the league.
I'm crying.
Well, no, I don't think you're crying. I think you like SGA more than Jokic, which is fine. I think he's a fantastic player. And if you could make the case that Jokic isn't the MVP, it would be the fact that he has not played very well in the first 2 games against a team that could eliminate him from the playoffs. Meanwhile, SGA went out there and absolutely lambasted Dallas in game 1.
Yeah, and that's game 1. I hear you.
I mean, I just think we make a little too much about regular season awards, especially when a player in the Bay Area is not even in the conversation, at least in the NBA. I know
but 30 in the league is 30, and I can hear Snotty Goo, you care about points, but that team had to, like, they did what you always want. They took the necessary next steps, and they were the number 1 seed. I know it's kind of flukish, Denver lost, but damn, Evan, I guess rather than you get something for the 3rd time, break me off 1 if you know I'm kind of worthy.
The thing
you know what I mean? Like,
shout out James.
Did we need? Yeah, there you go. I'm slipping him all day.
No, the thing
that's what I think's irking me.
You want to know what really irks me about SGA? Is the fact that he does post-game interviews on the court with his entire team.
What is that?
I don't
it's
like
so
that
whack.
At all.
How could you go there?
It's more a reflection of his teammates than him. Like, can you give him some space?
Think about the
next question.
What are we doing?
It's like Chet Holmgren, quit lurking over him like he's a massive shadow.
Whack, Evan. I saw it. Yeah, I go. This is whack.
They got both Jalen Williams is in there. Arkansas and Santa Clara. Is it Lou Dort's around? Just kind of like, are they going to talk? Is the sideline reporter going to ask him a question? Or are they just there for moral support? What are they doing there?
All right, we don't got enough time, Evan. I got a story, and I think maybe it hits home because it scares me, but. You know, I had a niece that graduated high school, and they had a party at her house.
Okay.
And we were supervising. And I saw all the guys in like a mosh pit. And I go, in my area, you go ask the young ladies to dance. What are you guys but they were having a good time. Go dance. That's what and they were just all together. Like, dude, what happened to the 70s, Evan? Go over there and ask her to dance. And they were just all like, oh my, and the girls were looking to me, Evan, like the young ladies, beautiful, just like, I would love to dance, and that's what that reminds me of, like, dude, one guy was the star, he does the interview, and you guys can celebrate in the line. What are we doing? That's what it reminded me of.
Well, I don't get why, we do have to hit a break here. I don't get why you would do an interview as a team on the court, but then in the post-game press conference, there's only one of you at one time. That I just don't understand. If you're going to be a unit, be a unit.
And they're like, and dude's hanging on